Give a little and be part of something big.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. It's time for Montana's only daily sports talk show, Nuanez Now. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
I like football!
Now here's your host, Coulter Nuanez.
Every time you wear that sweatshirt, I think, who the hell invited an Idaho Vandal in here? And then I remember it's the PLU Lutes.
Yeah, notably, PLU does not spell Idaho.
It's just the Vandals coach. What's up, everybody? Welcome in. Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN FT app. Look who I found. Riding two-tail, riding shotgun here.
Hi, boys and
for
girls.
the first hour. And a fun show. We got basically all the regular contributors coming your way here the next couple of days. Ryan's sitting with me here today. We will also hear from Hayden Smith, Jeff Safford, are now going to be weekly hockey breakdowns because the Stanley Cup playoffs are upon us. And we're also going to hear from Doug Fraley, the head coach of the Grizz track program. That's coming up about 5:30. And then tomorrow, Rajim Seabrook will sit next to me for the first hour. And then Carol Chicken Does No Sports. And Jeff Safford also has some Grizz softball for you. So fun couple days coming up. I know you thought there was going to be a lull, but there's no lulls. There's no lulls in the world because we get to talk about football every day, which is what we're going to do here today. We're going to talk NFL draft. We're going to talk Bobcat spring football because they have their spring game on Saturday. We're also going to talk a little bit of recruiting because I have a little bit of a question that I have not prepared Ryan for, but I do think it's an interesting dynamic. There's already 9 in-state commitments in the state of Montana, 6 for the Grizz, 3 for the Bobcats. Considering Montana State won the national championship 3 months ago, I don't know if people thought that was how it's going to go, but I do think there's an interesting conversation to be had here, so we'll have that here in hour number 1 as well. How you doing, buddy?
Great. I mean, how do we avoid a lull? You will get me in here.
That's right.
You know,
exactly.
that's the easiest.
Exactly.
That's the easiest way to avoid it. Well, I mean, it's not. How can it be a lull? This is actually one of the great sports days on the calendar where you have round 1 of the NFL draft, full swing of the first round of the Stanley Cup and NBA playoffs, and I mean, it just doesn't get better. And also the Zurich Classic, the only team game in the PGA Tour. Oh, give me all that. Brooks Koepka and Shane Lowry having a great time.
Very good. Here's what we're going to do. This is really live radio here. We're going to switch your mics just because you have such beautiful dulcet tones here, and a lot of people are a little scared to talk into the microphone. You are not.
Yeah. Give me the muted one.
So there you go. This one's just a little. It's not that they're muted. This one's just a little hot. This is inside baseball here. This one's just a little bit hot. So I'm giving you the not hot one.
Like my brother on the drums, where like the wrong person comes up and you got to put the like rubber skin on the drum, so it's just quieter. That's effectively what we've done here.
I've been obsessing about Nirvana for months because I've read Dave Grohl's autobiography. I've already told you about this multiple times. You probably don't even need to read it now because I've probably told you so much about it. But I found myself watching Nirvana Unplugged, which was like their last live national deal before Kurt Cobain then tragically killed himself. And watching Dave Grohl play the drums with the brushes.
Oh, yeah.
This is like when Dave was like 23 years old. He's trying to contain himself so much and he just can't, and he's having the worst time. Kirk is having a great time playing the guitar. Dave's not having that good of a time. It's pretty funny.
It's just not for him. You know, it was interesting. They got the 2 remaining members, and then Pat Smear, who's in Foo Fighters with Dave Grohl, and then Post Malone, of all people, came on. They did just Smells Like Teen Spirit for maybe it was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or some kind of show where they got together and actually played like a real live Nirvana track. And you could see Dave Grohl now on the drums, where of course he was with that band. And it doesn't seem like he has really wanted to revisit a lot of Nirvana stuff in the last couple decades. I think there's some amazing things there, and there's probably quite a bit of pain there as well. And I totally understand, where I'm not here to just sort of like live in the past. I got Foo Fighters they're doing pretty well in their own right. But it seemed like, just to watch him on the drum kit right there, that he was, I wouldn't say nervous. I don't think he's ever going to be really nervous in there, but just sort of an odd feeling to be playing this song with, with the original bassist and everybody and something that you don't really do. But by God, as soon as that drop kick shows up and he just starts going, I mean, it's just magic, dude. He's just a machine and just throttles that thing.
It's unbelievable.
It's beautiful.
You want us now ESPN Radio? You want to stream us? You always can. 1029ESPN.com. You can also always use the ESPN MT app. You can also always find us on YouTube and on Facebook and on Twitch. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Several hundred of you have listened to that. We've gained a couple hundred, but we need more. More. It's not because we're greedy. It's not because we want to put a bunch of ads in your experience. It's just because it's a great way for us to track, but also it's a great way for you to interact. You can comment on the YouTube. Hayden and Jeff can forward those along to me. Also, though, if it's more in your wheelhouse to text us, please do. 406-888-1029. Let us know what you want us to talk about.
Also, most certainly it is because of greed. I mean, okay. Come on.
Hey, we have to pay bills to turn the radio machine on.
Right.
I said this earlier this week, but congratulations to our great friend Tommy Evans, the man who does turn the radio machine on every day. He had a beautiful baby girl, so great job by Rachel, and congratulations to Tommy and Rachel. But anyway, speaking of the man who turns the radio machine on. But if you want to be a part of the show, 406-888-1029, or comment on YouTube, or you can hit us up on social media too, but that's probably the easiest way to get here. And as always, we are coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned, veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. If you'd like to make the switch today, call 406-541-7171 or visit grizzlydisposal.com. NFL Draft begins this evening. The first round now is a Thursday evening event, and then Friday is the second and third rounds, and then Saturday, the long day, 4th through 7th rounds. Not a lot of drama behind who's going to be the number one pick. I think people are sort of seeing this pretty clearly now. Francisco Mendoza from Indiana expected to go to the Las Vegas Raiders.
Fernando, in fact.
Excuse me, sorry, Francisco Mendoza. No, that would be a different person. What do you think of this sort of surefire nature of this number one pick?
Yeah, I mean, we have sort of been under the presumption that this was going to happen for several months. And yet, if you're the Raiders, I have not heard the Raiders explicitly come out and say this is in fact what they're doing, and I'm sure they haven't done that. Although, if there was any question for them about this being the right decision that they wanted to make, I think there would have been a lot more discussion about potential trades and different things like that. But the other thing is if not him, then who, right? I mean, if you're not taking Fernando Mendoza number one overall and you're the Raiders, what is your plan? So clearly bringing Kirk Cousins in, I think, is all the evidence you need that Mendoza is going to be the pick here. And,
sure.
And I think he should be, man. I'm a big believer in Fernando Mendoza, and for a number of different reasons. But I think you're always going to struggle if you're the number one overall pick. I mean, the Raiders are absolutely or in the conversation for the worst wide receiving core in football. Now, I realize they have Brock Bowers, which is
and he had such an up and down year.
Well, he did, and some injuries in that. And also Ashton Genty, who obviously way underperformed his draft capital,
no question,
but also was behind another terrible offensive line, which presumably has improved. What I'm trying to say is, it's hard to come in as a number one pick knowing that you are clearly going to an organization that has holes to fill beyond the one that you're supposed to fill, and be the guy that you were. I mean, you're going from the best offensive line in all the country, yes, 200 teams, to one of the worst offensive lines, even though it's improved in this offseason. The Raiders are not going to be a top half offensive line. Can you, as a rookie quarterback, make up for it? And even are they going to put him in the position to do that, given the fact that they got Kirk Cousins?
Well, that's the thing. That's what makes the Kirk Cousins signing seem like actually a smart move by the Raiders, which is not something that is very customary of that franchise. It is not uncommon. In fact, it's common that the top player in the draft is a quarterback. We've seen plenty of them over the last 10 years. Jared Goff went number 1 in 2016. Mitch Trubisky went number 2 in 2017. Baker Mayfield number 1 in 2018. Kyler Murray Murray, number 1 in 2019. Joe Burrow, the number 1 pick in 2020 after his fantastic Heisman Trophy winning season. Trevor Lawrence, number 1 overall pick the following year. 2022 was a dud quarterback class, which I actually think influenced the NFL more than people give credit to. The only first-round quarterback was Kenny Pickett. Then Desmond Ridder went in the second round. He's been doing nothing. Malik Willis was a third-round pick. He actually might have a chance in Miami. We'll see. But then in the following year, 2023, it was Bryce Young and C.J. Stroud 1-2. Anthony Richardson followed up at number 4. 2024 was Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels 1-2, and Drake May went number 3 to the Patriots. Michael Penix also in the top 10 that year at number 8. J.J. McCarthy at number 10 and Bo Nix at number 12. That's the most quarterbacks ever drafted in the top 15 of the NFL draft, and tied for the most quarterbacks ever drafted in a first round period.
And also, what a class!
I mean, great class, right?
There's still a long way.
Penix has got to get healthy, and McCarthy's got to fix his brain, but the rest of them are good.
Just unbelievably good.
Yes,
really. I mean, I think that a lot of people were eyebrows raised at Drake May number 3. It's like,
Turned
you
out
have
just fine.
to, and I don't think anybody in the Boston area is regretting that decision.
No doubt. And then last year, just 2 quarterbacks in the first round. Cam Ward went number 1 overall. He had an absolutely brutal season filled with growing pains in Tennessee. I don't think hardly any of that was his fault. He can't really move, and their offensive line's awful, and they're just terrible. So that was a tough rookie year. But then Jackson Dart, the other first-round quarterback, he fell all the way to 25. A lot of people thought that might be a steal, and it turned out probably to be a steal because I think he's going to be pretty good. Mendoza is the number 1 consensus guy. To me, though, he is not like a Caleb Williams or a Joe Burrow or even maybe a Jared Goff, where it's like you sort of know what the floor of this guy is. But I also don't think he's like a totally huge flyer type risk like Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Bryce Young, some of these smaller guys were when they went number 1 overall. It's just interesting because very rarely is the number 1 overall consensus guy like a safe option, but it seems like he is the safe option. Is that just based on personality?
I actually think that's actually a really good way to characterize it. I mean, it is. I mean, the only other quarterback that's even thought to possibly be a first rounder is Ty Simpson out of Alabama. So as quarterback classes go, at least top end, this is a thin class.
Yes.
So you wonder, in a different year, where does that shade how we look at Mendoza?
Sure.
I don't know the answer to that question specifically, but I do like I do like what he is as a player, and I think a safe choice is a pretty good way to put it, man. Like, could he be the best quarterback in the NFL? I don't see that. I don't it's I'm never going to say that it's not possible.
Right.
But I just
when you draft Caleb Williams or Joe Burrow, you're like, we think that guy could be the best quarterback in the NFL, right?
Exactly. But I also think that at no point, including game 1, will Mendoza be the worst quarterback in the NFL.
Sure, right.
Which is saying something because it's very easy to be that the first time you ever play.
Totally.
So I think that he has, again, I think the physical tools, I think the mentality of it. You asked an interesting question about is his personality or his sort of just disposition, the way that he is,
right,
a positive or negative, or how is that going to impact him as a player? And I mean, I don't know the answer to that. I think that all the intangibles that you want in a vacuum, he's got.
Sure.
Good kid, hard worker, studies, smart, like invested, going to Vegas not to do the Vegas thing, type of dude.
Like if this was Baker Mayfield, you would be worried about a lot of things
Johnny
that have nothing to do
would
with
not make it to training camp.
Right. These guys are not. They're worried about a lot of things that have nothing to do with football with these guys. Like Mendoza's not in that mold. It doesn't seem like.
I think particularly when you're talking about the Las Vegas Raiders, those attributes are accentuated in a guy that you want, especially playing quarterback for your team. So that's why I think that he checks all the boxes for the Raiders in this sense. But as a quarterback too, you have to have a certain relatability factor.
Sure.
And there's plenty of different types of quarterbacks who have been, Eli Manning was kind of sit in the shadows guy, but also go out. And we've seen Eli's personality, come through. So it's not, he's certainly got that, but definitely a much quieter type of guy. Other guys are the ferocious leaders that you see, the Peyton Mannings or the Tom Bradys of the world.
Sure.
But there are guys, like I would think about a Russell Wilson, who comes in and is not just a perfectly nice guy, maybe the nicest guy, but also not the most popular guy. Not that he was hated. In fact, I think he was well liked, but he was
hated at the end, I think.
At the end. But during his run in Seattle, it's just like, hey, this is our teammate. He's great. He's playing great. We love having him here. He's a good dude. He's going to the Children's Hospital on Tuesdays. That's what we know about Russell Wilson. Are we going to dinner together? Probably not. Is that affecting our team negatively? Absolutely not.
Sure.
So you can have that. Is Mendoza going to be a guy who's like going to galvanize an NFL locker room? I think that is a question mark to me.
Yeah, but you can do it because he's a nerd, right? Let's just say it how it is. He's a nerd. You can do it if you're a nerd, though, if you are addicted to the game.
Yeah.
Like, if you are putting in more time, you're at the facility for longer than everybody else. Like, if you are, like, the best comparisons here are Andrew Luck, not in style, because Luck had a way bigger arm and way more potential than Mendoza when he was coming out of Stanford. But Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan are like the two guys that are sort of like these smart, squeaky clean cut guys that then they proved they could do it by just being sort of addicted to the grind. And I just worry about Mendoza and the fit in Vegas, not because of him being succumbing to the temptations of Vegas, but because the Raiders are just a dumpster fire of a franchise, and I don't believe in them to have the patience to develop this guy in the proper way. But maybe this is the thing that turns their franchise. I don't know, but it seems unlikely given the track record, especially recently, of Raiders football.
I agree, but here's an example. How about Case Keenum?
Sure, Mr. Electricity,
Mr. Electricity,
best quarterback the Vikings have had in the last 10 years.
And here's a guy who couldn't have been more invested in being a team leader the way that he did it and everything like that. And yet he was a really good player, but maybe not good enough to quite get the buy-in from his team.
Yeah.
And then when you're out there doing everything that you're supposed to do, but not really, it's sort of like everybody just sort of said, yeah, but you're not quite there.
Sure.
And if Mendoza can be there, then the other stuff falls into place, But it is about on the field stuff first, man. You can do anything you want. I mean, get Mac Hollins out there in New England, never wearing shoes and doing all kinds of stuff, and yet who caught touchdowns in the Super Bowl?
That's right. I have a theory. I was now watching ESPN Radio. There's a perception amongst the pundits that are covering this draft. This draft is top heavy. That's the joke that's going around right now about Mike Vrabel. Vrabel announced today that he's going to go to treatment of some sort, or counseling, I guess is what he called it, on day 3 of the draft. If you haven't followed the scandal with Diana Rossini, well, tune in tomorrow. Carolyn Chick doesn't know sports because she's obsessed with this. So I guarantee you we're going to talk about it for the 3rd week in a row. We'll leave that alone. But there was a bunch of jokes going around that, of course, Vrabel's skipping the 3rd day because there's not going to be much impact that happens on the 3rd day because it is sort of a top-heavy draft. I was thinking about this, though. I think that the scouting process in the NFL has become so sophisticated. There's, first of all, players getting developed at such an incredibly high level in the Power 4. Like, if you're going to Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia, you are so much closer to being NFL ready than you used to be. I'm still not saying it's surefire automatic. There's always going to be a learning curve, but it's a heck of a lot closer than it used to be because of the training that you have, the opportunity you're going to have, but also the competition you're going against day in and day out. I also think then the way that they scout these guys and the way that they prepare them, and the way they vet them the insurance that the NFL has now is so almost unbreakable. We used to love the draft because you'd have a first round of a draft and you'd have a whole bunch of, I can't believe that this happened, or who the hell is that guy, or that guy's going to be a total bust, and maybe then he didn't become a bust or whatever. There's way less character issues now out there with these guys because I think guys understand like what's at stake here. There's a lot less guys just doing stupid stuff. So there's just so many different things that make this almost fail-safe. I think that the vast majority of guys now that are considered busts, they're busts because, one, they get to the NFL and they can't handle their money and they do stupid stuff, or two, they go to an organization that does not give them an advantage to develop into what they're going to become. I think it's very, very rare now that a guy gets drafted and he just can't do it. He's just not good enough.
I think that's totally true. And I think the not being good enough takes a number of different forms, though. You know what I mean? It's not.
Sure.
It's not. Every single player that's going to get drafted here is going to have something that they are more than good enough to be an NFL caliber player.
Sure,
at.
right.
But it can be off the field stuff, not even negative, like not even doing anything wrong or criminal or anything like that, but it could just be a lack of time put in, not appreciating the upgrade of going from even a high-end college situation to an actual professional situation where this is what you have to do now, and it's on you. And, the responsibility is yours. You don't have somebody, you don't have a counselor from the department coming in and making sure you're at class, so to speak. You just got to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And some guys are not prepared for that level of responsibility. And
sure.
From the outside looking in, sometimes it seems like it's not that big a responsibility, like it's your job. But also, like if you've had somebody wake you up your whole life to be
sure.
on time and like scheduled your stuff, and now you're the one. I mean, there's schedules available, obviously, but you know what I'm saying? Like you got to be the decision maker for yourself, and other guys are going home to families, and they're not, hanging out playing Mario Kart. Yes, that's right. Hands up, go PLU. Mario Kart on the weekends. So there's a lot of different ways, I guess the point is to end up not making it. But the point of being failed by an organization that is not doing the best it can by the players or by the position to put you in a position to be successful, I think that is as often the cause as the player not doing enough on their end.
This is also an interesting draft class because this is considered a draft class that has a lot of elite talent at positions like offensive guard, safety, receiver a little bit. But as you mentioned, there's only projected to have two quarterbacks that go in the first round. One in the beginning of the first round, one in the end of the first round. Ty Simpson from Alabama is projected to maybe sneak into the end of the first round. There's only one corner that's expected to go tonight, which that's crazy. Sometimes you see 3, 4, 5, 6 corners go in the first round. There are some edge guys, and there's a couple offensive tackles that are projected to go tonight, but there's just as many offensive guards and defensive tackles. So how do you think this is going to impact the way teams navigate this first round, and how much do you think that will impact then the rest of the draft? Because these are not necessarily like the premier positions, the positions the NFL teams have reconciled themselves they're going to pay. And in order that is these days, quarterback, left tackle, cornerback, defensive end.
It's safeties and linebackers for days,
right.
In this at the top of this draft.
But like the best linebackers in the league right now get paid like $8 million. The best corners and quarterbacks in the league get paid $50. So like this is the different pay scales in terms of like the value that franchises give to these positions.
One thing I think that's telling, though, is because those quote-unquote premier positions, or the positions that have a high value placed on them because of the importance in modern football. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it seems to me like, oh, well, if you're a quarterback and you're the best quarterback, we just have to take you because in virtue of the importance of the position. And I think that this is like a league-wide referendum that says, no, we know how good you have to be to do this, and none of you are at these positions. Sure. And I do think it's a little bit like the Raiders kind of get away with one because they get to draft first in a spot where it's maybe just more obvious than in other years who the first guy is that you would take. And everybody else is like, yeah, you're going to get probably an all-pro linebacker today. Is that going to change the fortunes of your terrible New York Jet franchise?
Sure.
No. Does that mean you shouldn't take him? No.
Right.
Take him.
Right.
And this is a thing that I guess...
this is how the Ravens got so good on defense. They'd be picking between 17 and 25, and there wouldn't necessarily be like that quote-unquote value guy. Right. So they would just draft insert name here, Patrick Queen, for example, or, whoever else, like the best linebacker on the board, and all of a sudden now you got the most stacked defense in the NFL.
And this is one thing I don't understand, like about a Jeremiah Love, who is unequivocally the best running back in the country.
Notre Dame.
And is a home run hitter like crazy. And it's easy to point to Ashton Genty just last year and be like, well, see, like that's what happens when you go too high and you're not ready for it. Okay, fair enough. But if Love shows up and is Christian McCaffrey 2.0, you telling me that because he's a running back, he shouldn't be a top 5 pick? That's insane. Like, he's scoring all the points in America right here, this guy.
Right.
That's how that doesn't make you team-wide better. I just don't quite get. And I understand where they're like, well, they're a dime a dozen. Well, not him. He's not. He's a unicorn, and he is going to go in the top 5 probably ultimately. Where I think Tennessee is a pretty hot choice for that right now. But to think that because it's not corner, we can't spend a top 5 pick on this guy, I think that's crazy. And I think that the NFL is not accepting that. Like they're going, no, we're taking the best players here because the best players still matter. And it's just because it isn't left tackle and cornerback all day long. That's just what it is. We will get to those guys in the second round, which is where they should be. And
it is just so interesting looking at the history of draft picks from that are running backs that have gone super high, right? Like you have guys that are Ezekiel Elliott, good early but not really sustainable. Got guys like Leonard Fournette who are, pretty much a bust pretty soon.
Yeah.
But then you got guys like Saquon Barkley, and you got guys like Christian McCaffrey, and you got guys like there was another running back that went right ahead of McCaffrey. Bijan Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
If you can get a guy like that, I don't know. It's so tough because you could get Bijan Robinson, you could get Christian McCaffrey, you could get Adrian Peterson, you also could get Ashton Genty, you also could get Ezekiel Elliott. So like I don't.
Well, okay, but you could get, you could get J.J. McCarthy.
Sure.
You did get J.J. McCarthy, I guess I should say specifically to you, right? Well, just because
it's just a matter of who else is on the board, right?
Yes.
Like who else is who's the best edge on the board? Or who's if there's not a corner or a tackle that's better than Jeremiah Love, okay, then you got to look if there's a better edge. Like if you're Sonny Styles versus Jeremiah Love is a very interesting one. Sonny Styles is the great edge rusher out of Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. I don't know which one helps the Cardinals more at number 3. That's where Love is projected to go, is at number 3. But I don't know if you take a guy that high.
Well, again, if you're picking at number 3, it's probably multiple positions and things that you're looking at. And maybe that's a reason where you go defense more than running back.
Well, and I think that is more true than ever. Like if you look at this, the first 6 picks are the Las Vegas Raiders, the New York Jets, the Arizona Cardinals, the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, and the Cleveland Browns. Outside of the Giants, you just listed the 5 most dysfunctional franchises in the NFL.
Well, and the Giants have started to join that group in the last handful of years.
And we'll see if John Harbaugh can figure it out or not. But, like, that you're not going to – it doesn't really matter who you pick at this exact moment. You have to fix your organizational issues before you actually can move forward and make progress. This is Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. We've had a couple years now where we've had real deal draft prospects out of the state of Montana. It was Troy Anderson and Daniel Hardy a couple years back, and then you had the guys like Patrick O'Connell and Ty Okada, and then you had last year with Tommy Mellott, Junior Bergen, and a couple others that were in the mix, certainly to maybe even get a shot. I don't think that that's the case this year. I do think the 2 guys that have Montana ties that could get well, I don't think – I'll be on record here. I don't think anybody from Montana or Montana State is getting drafted. I do think the 2 guys from in-state that have the best chance to get on rosters are Michael Wortham, who was an All-American, all-purpose guy last year for the Grizz, and Kenzel Lawler, who somehow, someway got no all-conference last year, even though he led the league times 2 in pass breakups, being put on island and man coverage. Oh, by the way, then went and helped himself out big time by running in the 4.4s and having crazy numbers in the jumps at 6 foot tall, 195 pounds. So I won't be surprised if he gets an undrafted free agent invite as well. But do you agree? I mean, is anybody from state of Montana, or Montana State getting drafted?
No, I don't think so.
I don't either.
And that is a growing trend that is maybe we've talked about this at school specific levels a little bit, especially the University of Montana is where have the high end talent that was like absolutely getting drafted gone.
Sure.
But also, it is a much wider conversation as well, like a conference and subdivision level wide conversation about the talent that's there and where it's going and how it's gone. So I think there's a lot of factors that play into it. It also,
I mean, the number one factor is that the national champs for Montana State only had 8 seniors last year.
It stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going to sound so smart, and then you went and just jumped the gun on me. So now I got to pick up the pieces again and stumble around for something to say. But no, that's true. Like when you only have a handful of guys from the national championship that are now even eligible.
Sure, right.
You like talk to me next year, right? About the Montana State class and what may be coming out of that, right? But it is a little bit thin, although there are a couple still prospects, and I think that I mean, when you talk about Lawler and what he could do, like I mean, there's I don't think teams, when you're looking at like UFAs or even really late round draft picks, I think they put more of an emphasis on the combine numbers and the traits that you have than they do on how well did you play or what film is there of you, because they understand like, oh, he's coming from a small school. Oh, he, wasn't a starter till his senior year at a MAC program, whatever the case might be.
Sure.
But do you have you covered the threshold to entry physically to be able to do it? And you've proven in the case of Lawler that you can, and so that can open some doors right there for you at the end of the draft.
Well, it also goes back to my thought on just the insurance policies too, right? You just draft, if you need a bunch of corners, let's say you want to bring in 4 corners, you'll draft the 3 guys from the SEC and the Big Ten and then just sign Lawler because you don't have to draft him.
That's right.
That's why I was actually sort of surprised. Like Tommy Mellott and Junior Bergen are great prospects, but I don't know if you actually necessarily have to draft those guys if you think they're just going to be practice squad players that are sort of projects. But I think both those guys knew. I think that actually the Raiders and the 49ers, because they both have Montana ties with their special teams coordinators, they knew that they wanted each of those 2 guys. So they each drafted them so the other one didn't get both, basically.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if you have to draft these guys. Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Michael Wortham got drafted sometime really late, like 6th or 7th round, because I do think that he's a special player. The thing that's going to kill him is he's 5'8", and I just don't know if anybody's going to take a flyer on that. He's fast, 4.4, but most of the guys that are his height or smaller, they run like 4-0. They're like Darren Sproles and Trinidad Holiday, and guys are some of the fastest players in the history of the NFL. Well, it's now ESPN Radio. We're up against it. We'll come back, talk more football. What about Montana State? Seems like they're getting overshadowed in the offseason conversation, although they are the defending national champs. Talk about that and more next. Keep it right here, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the uniquely designed and well-equipped 2024 Buick Encore GX with models starting at $28,895. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to demorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Encores and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
It's easy to see why Montana is the treasure state. At the University of Montana, we look inside. We see an old truth with fresh eyes, that Montana's greatest treasure is its people. So whatever tomorrow brings, we meet it the only way we know how, with a mind for making. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Go to Larchmont.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Athletes and coaches from Montana and Montana State made waves on Wednesday. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. At the Big Sky Women's Golf Tournament at the Wigwam Resort in Litchfield Park, Arizona, Montana State's Nora Seidel capped the week of a lifetime by shooting a final round 67 to force a playoff. In that playoff, Seidel drilled a putt from the fringe to outlast Northern Arizona's Lizzie Neal to become the fourth golfer in MSU history to take home the Big Sky Conference title. Seidel's efforts earns her a spot at the NCAA West Regional and helps Montana State finish third overall as a team. Montana freshman Katie Lewis, a Frenchtown product, shot a final round even par 71 to finish in a tie for 25th place to pace the Grizz as Montana finished 9th out of 10 teams. The Grizz tennis team took home a slew of top honors from the Big Sky. On the women's side, junior Kelsey Phillips went undefeated in Big Sky Conference play, and on Wednesday, the league announced she's the Big Sky Conference Player of the Year. Phillips went 8-0 in league matches, winning 6 of the 8 in straight sets. In Grizz men's tennis, Jason Brown was named the Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year for the second season in a row, and Tom Bittner was named the MVP of the league for the Grizz. Brown led UM to a 13-7 overall record and went 6-1 in conference play this season. Bittner is the third MVP in Grizz history after overcoming an injury to post a 5-2 record in singles in league play and lead the Grizz to the number 2 seed in this weekend's Big Sky tournament in Phoenix.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
Think we scare people when we play this kind of stuff?
No.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio. Listening to Nuanez Now, coming to you live from the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Ryan Tutel riding shotgun with me. Colter Nuanez. Grizzly Disposal has one bin recycling. They can pick it up at your house if you'd like to add the service or make the switch. 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal, the only bears that should be in your garbage. You don't find tools scary? I used to, but now I don't.
Well, there you go.
I got baptized.
There's lots of things that people thought were scary in the 80s and 90s that they found themselves getting over.
So what happened to scary music, though? That doesn't really come out anymore. Like, is there scary bands that are existing now?
Oh, yes.
Bands, period, exist?
Yes. And there's some real scary ones.
Yeah.
But they're not on this radio station. I can tell you, though, I enjoyed my week of summer, and I'm happy to be on the radio with you for the first day of winter.
It's like, what are we doing? I have in here to do a Canyon River read, but I don't think anybody wants to go golfing when it's puke and snow. But it won't be puke and snow forever. Canyon River is open, and it's rolling like never before. It is literally the best early season conditions I've ever had out there. I've been playing there since they opened in 2006, and it is next level. So when the snow stops, which will inevitably happen since we do live in Montana, head on out to Canyon River, the premier public golf course in the state of Montana. Also, since it's a Thursday, I did not mention this off the top. Remiss to not mention this. Thirsty Thursday. So we got a $25 gift card for you to DraftWorks Brewing. All you got to do is text us. 406-888-1029. That's 888-1029. Bobcats complete spring football on Saturday with the Sunny Holland Spring Classic. And it's very interesting because the Bobcats have gotten certainly plenty of attention, but not a ton of conversation since they won the national championship in January. Obviously, there was the whole national championship then first build-up and then sort of recapping and all that. So they dominated January. But then in February and March, so much of it has belonged to the Grizzlies when it comes to in this state. And part of that's just because of the turmoil. Bobby Houck retiring, unretiring, going to Illinois. Part of that's because of the recruiting. 6 out of the 9 in-state commits that exist right now are committed to Montana, not Montana State. But also, I think it's because the conversation point about Montana State is almost singular. They only had 8 seniors on their team last year. It seems as if the two factors that could derail a team that is in pursuit of a second straight national championship are turnover on the coaching staff. Yep. But that's happened constantly under Brent Vigen. I mean, he's going on his 5th defensive coordinator in 6 years, and they've been the best defense in the league the whole time. So I think you can pretty much have faith that that's going to go just fine, especially when you bring in a guy like Bobby Daly who's already been there. So it's not like it's a new guy to the program. The other thing that could derail it is guys hitting the transfer portal. Well, the Cats had like 11 guys hit the portal after the 2024 national championship game. What'd they do? They came back and they ran the table and won the Natty. So those two factors that could deter a team don't seem to be factors. So then the number one, or if not singular narrative around Montana State is, can they run it back? Will they run it back? How do they handle the pressure? That's basically where we sit at. So it's not that diverse, but it is sort of paramount.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be more conversation after this weekend and after spring game and just seeing bodies on the field and getting to talk to some guys and one small nuance that's worth mentioning, because the Cats have an indoor practice facility, they've been practicing at 6:40 in the morning. That impacts the media coverage. Because there's not a lot of TV people. I mean, God bless them, but all the TV people work until 11:30 at night. They're not trying to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Coulter shows up on his way home, gets a couple quotes, and heads to the rack.
Exactly. But I do think that it's also been like there just hasn't been as much media out there because they're practicing so early.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the factors are part of this. Everything that you outlined is absolutely true, spot on. And then, obviously, the conversation in the offseason is going to be far more with Montana than with Montana State, given the seasons that they've just had. I mean, if that sounds counterintuitive, it shouldn't be. National champions, there's not a lot to talk about.
Sure.
You're the champs. Wear the ring, have the parade, do the deal, and then, let's talk about reloading. Let's talk about running it back.
And if you were losing 30 guys, like 30 seniors, then you'd have this whole conversation of how do you replace these guys. All the best guys from Montana State last year, I mean, besides Julius Davis and Paul Brott, they're all coming back.
And I think that is, again, another factor in this. If you've got a quarterback transferring out and going up. If you've got marquee dudes.
If Justin Lamson, Taco Dowler, or Adam Jones transfer, that's a week worth of content that we're talking about all day. How do you replace this guy? How do you do this?
So it's good news for Montana State that the conversation has not really been about them. And then add to that then the fact that how is Montana going to catch Montana State is sort of has been this ongoing conversation and question, particularly in the offseason for the last several years. And now it gets maximized by the fact that one Bobby exits and a new Bobby comes in and everybody goes, whoa, what? How? What do we got here? And everything that has transpired since then. And so, of course, there is going to be just far more curiosity, interest in off-season football in Missoula than in Bozeman at this moment.
One factor we did not bring up as we were conversating and prepping for this earlier today, yes, we do prep from time to time, was that the other omnipresent narrative that's dominated the FCS over the last 15 years is how do you get over the top against North Dakota State? Well, guess who's not in the subdivision anymore? North Dakota State. So that narrative also disappears, right?
Well, and also it was done. Like Montana State and Montana, for that matter, both.
But like Montana
did do that.
I mean, Montana State never actually got a chance to beat the Bison, though, right?
Yeah, well,
because Illinois State beat them, and then they beat Illinois State, right?
But I mean, that's ipso facto.
Sure.
Okay, modus ponens, but it was done.
Yeah.
So, but now Montana State is carrying the big stick, and obviously the conversation is, I mean, that's the really number one factor. Is now instead of trying to get there.
Yes.
You're trying to stay there.
And that's the distinct dynamic switch, because it's been how do we get there for 40 years, right? First it was how do we catch the Grizz. Then it was how do we keep the Grizz in the rear view. Then it was how do we catch South Dakota State and North Dakota State. Now it's how do we stay on top of the mountain.
And I think that's the number one question. I mean, if I'm going to have a conversation about Montana State right now, it is that since Coach Vigen has been at Montana State, that team has either met or exceeded the expectations unequivocally since he's been there. Right. Even in their quote-unquote worst season, which was, like a quarterfinals
they lost on the blocked like extra point to NDSU.
Even that was an outstanding season in relation to all the dudes that they lost the best class in the history of the school the year prior.
Right.
And they still, won the conference and went, again against North Dakota State down to the wire, and it happens. What's the point? The point is that Coach Vigen has proven that he is the stabilizing force at the elite level of that school and of that program year in and year out. What the question that he hasn't had the opportunity to answer, that he now very happily does have the opportunity to answer, is if you get it done, all the way done, can you reinstill the fire, so to speak, to say, hey, we've done nothing. The 2026 version of the Montana State Bobcats is 0 wins and 0 losses and has to show up to work every single day. And especially when you're talking about you're returning this top-level talent, right? You're talking about starting quarterback, starting most prolific wide receiver, skill position player in the conference, one of them certainly in Taco Dowd, plenty of other guys who now have been who are national champions.
Right.
There is a human nature element to sort of, not that you're taking it easy, but is that same drive to do the extra. Exactly. To stay the extra time, to do the extra reps, to do the extra study, because you care so much about getting there. Now that you've gotten there, was the ride good enough to warrant that same amount of effort again to go after it? And that's, I think, Coach Vigen's sort of broadly overarching. That is his big challenge right now, to get his team into that headspace. And I'm not sure how you do it, but if there's a guy that can, I would put my cards on Coach Vigen to be the guy.
No doubt, especially because he's done it before at North Dakota State. We'll keep on attacking Cats and Grizz, especially when it comes to the in-state recruiting battle. The Grizz are winning at this exact moment, despite Montana State's historic season a year ago. We'll go through all that and more on the other side. Don't change that dial. Ryan Tutel kicking it with me, Colter Nuanez. It's Nuanez Now, 102.9 ESPN Radio.
Les Schwab changed the tire game more than 70 years ago. Today, we still believe you should get more from less. Like more hustle, less hassle. More of the best service around, less of the runaround. Because we include America's best tire warranty in every tire we sell. So you get more unbeatable warranty, less charging you extra. It's why we're more than proud to say, you get more from less.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Welcome back. Welcome to ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Brian's not here to jam. He wants to talk.
No, man. You got 5 minutes left. Come on.
To tell Nuanez here on Nuanez Now. All right, so we were just talking about Bobcats and the overwhelming storyline, which is sort of singular for Montana State as they wrap spring ball on Saturday. But also, the other thing I think that has helped Montana sort of suck up a lot of the oxygen in state when it comes to off-season football, outside of the coaching changes and an institution that is Bobby Houck no longer being the head of the Grizz, has been in-state recruiting. Montana's done a really good job in in-state recruiting, which is not something you could have said the last couple of years. So I think that's something that really gives a lot of ammo to the fan bases on both sides for sure. Now, if you want to go into like the details of who's gotten who and who's gotten what, I actually don't know how much the pendulum has swung that much. I mean, you look at the Grizz, they got 6 in-state commits. 3 of them are from Missoula. So that should just be like a job requirement, not necessarily like a recruiting win, right? They got a kid from Glacier whose dad played for the Grizz.
In any other context, you're absolutely right.
Right, but in this one,
it matters.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't happening.
Yeah.
So now it did. Now it does. There's a lot of Missoula boys dominating for the Montana State Bobcats football team right now.
I mean, one of the best players is Adam Jones from Missoula.
That's right. So, it's worth considering. Here's what I would like to ask Coach Kennedy, Coach Vegan, and anybody else who would answer this for me. And I will ask this at my next opportunity unless somebody beats me to it. Hint, hint. What does a commitment amount to at this point in time?
Right.
Now, it's optics. Let's be clear. It's not even a signing, which is an actual. I mean, it's not a contract, sure. But it is a physical commitment. Let's say. Whereas these are just oral agreements that say, yes, I'm going to go and let's do it. But they carry no, for lack of a better way, legal weight or any institutional weight or any school weight. It only carries the weight of quote unquote your own word. But also, we've seen plenty of times, this isn't that kids are lying about it, but something better comes along in the full year that we are away from. These are juniors here. They're going to play their senior year of football.
The early signing period does not start until the third week of December, so we are a full 8 months away from
what happens when Utah shows up and you go, well, actually, I am going to go.
Well, and the other big question, I'm not trying to take away anything from what Coach Kennedy and his staff have done, but the other question is, there is a realistic scenario here in which the coaching staff that these kids are committing to are not the coaches at Montana when signing day rolls around.
Totally.
I don't think that's going to happen because I think Montana will have I don't know how good, but I do think they'll have a good year after watching the spring game. I think they'll be a playoff team, right? But like, how deep are they in the playoffs? Like, there's a scenario where they're still playing when the early signing day comes around. That's the best case scenario if you're Kennedy and the guys, because that means you're in the semis probably. There's also a scenario where you either didn't make the playoffs or you got ousted from the playoffs, and a national search is ongoing, and you don't have a job, and these guys are committed to a program, not a group of coaches.
And I'm not saying that this stuff doesn't matter, because it does matter, and it especially matters for the University of Montana right now in this offseason.
Right.
And you got to find a way to create some positive energy, some momentum, and,
right.
and this is the best way to do it when we're in April.
That's right.
And so I give Coach Kennedy and the staff a ton of credit for this, but
That's
I
right.
also understand that it's not smoke and mirrors, but it doesn't matter in the way that you feel like it should matter too. And I would like to know their thoughts on it. Like, what
Right.
do you get? What is it when a kid commits to you? What does that mean for the program?
There's also no coincidence here that there's this many this early. I've done this for 20 years now. There's never been 9 commitments from in-state in April. Never, ever, ever has there been this many. Usually these guys start rolling it out in May after their track season gets done, or a lot of times the early commits are always in June, because those guys, like you said, they're going in their senior years. They come to individual camp at one of the 2 respective schools, which then gives the coaches like multiple full days to be like, to put the pressure on them. You know, a lot of times the early offers are guys they invite to junior day, etc., and then they get offered in that spring, but then they come to camp and now, you know, they're working you out and they can say, okay, son, here's exactly how I see you, and then you see a lot of guys commit right after camp for either side of the rivalry. It's not a coincidence these guys are committing right now, because I think that's part of the recruiting tactic.
Absolutely.
They're being asked to commit to control the optics.
Day 1, you got hired, Bobby Kennedy. Day 2, you're in high school coaches' offices with kids saying, hey,
right,
let's talk about you being a Grizzly. And so good on him for doing that and getting those commitments. What does that mean long term? I'm not ready to stamp that in any way.
Well, the other thing is these schools are going to keep recruiting these guys too, right? Both sides. Like the 3 kids that are committed to the Cats, I bet you they're still getting recruited by the Grizz. And for sure, several of the guys on the Grizz that are committed to the Grizz are going to get recruited by the Cats.
Yeah.
Nuanez Now 129 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Hour 1 in the books. Hour 2 coming at you. We got some Stanley Cup playoffs talk. We got some Grizz track and field talk. We're also going to talk a brief bit of NBA before we get into hockey. Hour 2 coming your way. Don't change that docu right here. 129 ESPN Radio.
Life can change in an instant. If you've been hurt in an accident, suffered from medical negligence, or are facing criminal charges, you don't have to face it alone. At Ryan Miller & Coburn, we're here to listen and fight for you. We're your neighbors, traveling across Montana to stand by your side as your link to justice. Real people, real help, right here in Montana. Ryan Miller & Coburn, your Montana attorneys.
DeMorris Buick GMC is ready to help you safely travel Montana's scenic roads in comfort and style. Stop by DeMorris today and test drive some outstanding SUVs. Right now, take advantage of closeout pricing on the exceptionally designed 2024 Buick Envision with models starting at $39,795. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to DeMorris.com to preview our inventory of 2024 Buick Envisions and then pay a visit to DeMorris Buick GMC on West Broadway in Missoula, your family-owned hometown dealership for over 60 years.
Life's about the journey, not the destination, right? Why can't it be about both?
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Athletes and coaches from Montana and Montana State made waves on Wednesday. Hello, I am Colter Nuanez. At the Big Sky Women's Golf Tournament at the Wigwam Resort in Litchfield Park, Arizona, Montana State's Nora Seidel capped the week of a lifetime by shooting a final round 67 to force a playoff. In that playoff, Seidel drilled a putt from the fringe to outlast Northern Arizona's Lizzie Neal to become the fourth golfer in MSU history to take home the Big Sky Conference title. Seidel's efforts earns her a spot at the NCAA West Regional and helps Montana State finish third overall as a team. Montana freshman Katie Lewis, a Frenchtown product, shot a final round even par 71 to finish in a tie for 25th place to pace the Grizz as Montana finished 9th out of 10 teams. The Grizz tennis team took home a slew of top honors from the Big Sky. On the women's side, junior Kelsey Phillips went undefeated in Big Sky Conference play, and on Wednesday, the league announced she's the Big Sky Conference Player of the Year. Phillips went 8-0 in league matches, winning 6 of the 8 in straight sets. In Grizz men's tennis, Jason Brown was named the Big Sky Conference Coach of the Year for the second season in a row, and Tom Bittner was named the MVP of the league for the Grizz. Brown led UM to a 13-7 overall record and went 6-1 in conference play this season. Bittner is the third MVP in Grizz history after overcoming an injury to post a 5-2 record in singles in league play and lead the Grizz to the number 2 seed in this weekend's Big Sky tournament in Phoenix.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is presented by Canyon River Golf Club. It's Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Missoula. Watch the show statewide on SWX Montana Television.
Welcome back. 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television, and the ESPN MT app. Colter Nuanez, Ryan Tutel coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio. You missed singing the first hour of the show. You can always find it on the Nuanez Now podcast, which is available on all your various podcast hosting platforms. Please rate, review, subscribe. We talked all things NFL Draft with the first round upcoming here this evening. We also talked some Bobcat football, the omnipresent and almost singular narrative surrounding Montana State, and we also talked about the in-state recruiting battle between the Cats and the Grizz that has been a dominant narrative so far here during the first quarter of 2026. All of it on the pod. As always, coming to you through the Grizzly Disposal Studio here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company. Grizzly Disposal has construction roll-off boxes for your construction projects. They get them to you within 24 hours. Don't wait days or even weeks. Give Grizzly Disposal a call today, 406-541-7171. Grizzly Disposal, locally owned and veteran-owned, and the only Bears that should be in your garbage. Ryan Tutel sticking around for just about a couple more minutes before Hayden Smith and Jeff Safford take over the airwaves with some Stanley Cup playoffs talk. We blew through the NBA because, of course, we got rapping about the draft, but what have you been thinking about the playoffs so far? A little bit atypical for the way the first round has gone over the last couple of years. There's actually several series that seem to be pretty dang competitive, even if the number 1 seeded Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Phoenix Suns is not one of them.
No, it isn't. But 5 series currently 1-1 split, so we're still very, very early in this thing. What I've really liked about not so much the playoffs per se, but just sort of the end of the regular season, and now certainly getting into the playoffs, but there has been new blood.
Yes.
I mean, watching a meaningful, full-barn competitive NBA basketball game in Charlotte, North Carolina was awesome. Man, it was super fun to see, even though, the Hornets did win one of the games there, but not the other. And then, but to have, the Pistons are the number 1 seed in the East, and they're playing the Magic, who also they were around last year, but are still those are teams that we haven't heard from in years.
A minute, yeah.
The Blazers, back again, at least in the dance.
Blazers are fun too.
They're super fun. So it's fun to have those teams. Now you lose a team like the Warriors, and it looks like maybe Steve Kerr's run, maybe kind of at the end there at Golden State. So there's that side of it as well. But I'm very interested in the new blood, along with what are now the standbys of, say Oklahoma City and Boston and the New York Knicks, even to some extent, have been there in the East the last couple seasons. So it's good, fun basketball being played right now.
Could be a fun evening this evening. I do think the Cavs-Raptors series is the other big mismatch series. I just think the Cavs are a heck of a lot better than Toronto. And then, of course, the one I already alluded to is the Thunder and Suns.
Over.
And, the Lakers being up 2-0 on the Rockets. I thought that was going to be a better series, but it hasn't been so far. There's a lot of drama around the Rockets and all that. But then the other 5 series, as you mentioned, are all 1-1. But I think tonight we can have 2 really competitive games. The 3-6 in each of the conferences is not as disparate as maybe the seeding might imply. I think that the Knicks are maybe one notch better than the Hawks, but if C.J. McCollum is playing like C.J. McCollum of 10 years ago, it's going to be pretty hard to Atlanta's not going to go down without a fight, I guess is what I should say. But then the Nuggets, T-Wolves,
those are just two perfectly even teams,
This is a mini rivalry here, right?
Yeah.
Because no one has had the answer for Jokic except the Timberwolves, because they have Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert is one of the most underrated defensive players of his generation. He was a 3-time defensive player of the year, but he should have been probably the defensive player of the year again this year, and he's the one guy that can get under Jokic's skin and that can actually guard him. I expect that to be an awesome game tonight, but that was a huge win by Minnesota to steal one in Denver, and they take a lot of momentum into Game 3 here in Minnesota tonight.
They certainly do, and I expect this to be a 6 or 7 game series, and those to me would have been 2 of the best teams in the West if you didn't have, obviously, the Oklahoma City Thunder and then the Spurs, who then lose Wemby to the concussion protocol. And what does that mean? When can he get back? Because that's going to be everything for them, obviously. But I do think, interestingly, the Pistons Magic, I could see the Magic winning that series. I really could. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's certainly possible. And the Pistons, good as they are, any of the top 4 seeds in the East could be the last team standing going into the NBA Finals.
Appreciate it, Ryan Tutel, for joining us here on Nuanez Now. We'll take it over to the other guys to talk all things hockey.
Love the Stanley Cup.
Love the Stanley Cup playoffs. Here you go. Hockey time here on Nuanez Now, probably presented by Sportsbet Montana.
Talking Stanley Cup playoffs here on ESPN Missoula. Got Hayden Smith with me. So far, we've gotten through at least 2 games in each of these first-round series. And looking at it, the Stanley Cup favorites, I know folks here on Nuanez Now like to talk about betting lines and all that fun stuff. But right now, the Cup favorite as of today, according to Vegas, not a big surprise, the Colorado Avalanche at plus 300. Second, the Carolina Hurricanes at 475. Tampa Bay Lightning at plus 500. And then the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars at 10-1 odds. Have to think that there hasn't been anything that the Avs have done to make anybody else think that they're the favorites at this point, right?
Yeah, obviously they're getting them done. I wouldn't say they're the prettiest games the way they're doing it. A bunch of 1-goal games against the Kings, which are definitely not nearly as good of a team. However, the playoffs get tight, man, no matter what. The goaltender, fantastic. I think Scott Wedgwood on the Avalanche side has also been very good. It's just tight checking, kind of boring playoff hockey. I think the LA Kings are really focused on trying to prevent the offensive talent the Avalanche have, which they certainly have a ton of, and just kind of make it a simpler game. Dump pucks, fight, simplify the game a little bit more and just hope you get a few bounces go your way. And that's how you beat very, very good teams in this league.
Avs in action tonight on the road in LA. We'll get to that one in a bit, but first we'll take a look back at what we saw last night in some Stanley Cup hockey. Hayden Smith and myself, Jeff Safford, here on ESPN MT. Take a look first at the first game we saw last night in terms of a puck drop, with the Flyers at home against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Was definitely surprised to see Philly go on the road and win 2 straight. And they're up 2-0 on home ice. It had been a chunk of time since Philadelphia had played a game at home. I believe the last time the Flyers had a home playoff game, I think it was 8 years since the last time they played at home. And with the game flipping in the second period, it was the Flyers taking home a 5-2 win. I guess you could say things got a little bit testy there in that second period with, at one point, 11 players in the box.
Gosh, did you see all of them hug after Trevor Zegras scored? It was the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, but I don't know what happened to the Penguins. They just completely unraveled, and that's so uncharacteristic for a team that's led by so many veteran guys like Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and all those guys that have been around for a long time. Chris Letang, another one. They obviously got up early, and you're thinking like, all right, the Penguins are going to get back in this. The only way to really describe Sidney Crosby to the Flyers is Aaron Rodgers to the Bears, Jeff. I mean, he has absolutely dominated them for years, and, I didn't expect it to be any different, but the Flyers have come out and they just look hungrier. I mean, they just simply look hungry. They look better. A little concerns on my part with Dan Vladar taking kind of a weird knee from Brian Rust in the blue there to his blocker hand, and he looked a little injured from that, but I think he's going to be okay. He did miss practice. Who knows if that's a precautionary thing? I'd imagine if the guy's healthy enough to go, he will certainly be playing, but a very uncharacteristic Pittsburgh Penguins move where they just fell apart, man. And the Flyers, I mean, they've played like this forever. They're just a gritty, tough, physical team. When you're having depth players step up, which is what they have got going on right now. I mean, they got Jacob Trouba firing pucks into the net, defensemen that don't necessarily score a lot of goals. I mean, speaking of goons, Jeff, Jacob Trouba's certainly got to be one of those guys we'd be considering in that list. They just look good right now. They look hungry. The Penguins look a little old. They look a little beat up right now. And I'm shocked that it's 3-0. I really thought the Penguins would come back and win that game last night, but Flyers look better, man. They just do.
Yeah, I think that really a lot could be seen from that post-game press conference, thinking about the Penguins talking about that second period and how it flipped the game and everything else. My response would be this: cry me a river. Wow, you're unhappy about something happening in the second period, some physical play. Get over it. The reason you are losing this series, as Hayden talked about, is you're just straight up getting outplayed. You've been outscored in this series 11-4.
And you know what you don't do when you're getting outplayed, Jeff? You don't go to the box, because that is not going to help anybody. And the way that these games have gone, obviously Sidney Crosby's trying to make a play, gets the first embellishment of his career, which I thought was interesting, on kind of a weird high stick call.
It was strange.
I don't think that he even meant to do that. It was just kind of a weird play. If Crosby had, just grabbed his mouth and maybe, not completely. He flopped. Crosby flopped.
He went full on.
Oh, he flopped.
NBA. He went full on Draymond Green.
Oh no, for sure. And that's that's a senior captain trying to make a play for his team, getting his guys a power play. Kind of a funny little interaction with a fan. I don't know if you saw this, but he was sitting in the box and a fan kind of gave him a fun little smirk, like, you just did that, and he kind of smiled back at him like, yeah, I tried to get away with that one, which was a pretty funny little moment. But yeah, they're getting outplayed, they're being undisciplined, and there's not really much more to it. They're down 3-0 in a series. For sure now, I mean, obviously the only chance they have, I think, for me is, if Dan Vladar actually does have an injury, and oh my goodness, man, do they got to stay out of the box. We watched Edmonton try to rally all the way back, and it's tough being down 3-0 in a series.
Being down 3-0, always a mountain to climb. And that brings the big question to it. Kind of a two-prong big question for me. Are this iteration of the Penguins, not even in this series, but is this iteration of the Penguins dead? Is this the end for Sid the Kid if they can't come back?
I don't even want to answer this because it seems sad to say it, but I think if you're a Flyers fan, you got to look at this with a ton of pride. Like you said, is this the end of the era of Sidney Crosby dominating you? And do you finally, get over that hurdle and get into that second round and finally defeat the Sidney Crosby-led Penguins? And is it the end? I don't know. I mean, the Penguins weren't even really supposed to be this good anyways, and I think it was kind of a shock that they made the playoffs to begin with. But we talked about it last week, man. All these guys are getting into their 40s that are Hall of Fame guys: Ovechkin, Crosby, Patrick Kane. I mean, it's the end of a lot of this stuff, and it's going to be interesting to see all these young guns kind of stepping up and taking control.
The Penguins will try to stave off elimination down 3-0, and if they get it back to home ice, who knows?
You never know.
Wilder things can happen.
It's not over.
And we have seen plenty of teams come back in Stanley Cup hockey from 3-0 deficits. Thinking the Edmonton Oilers in years past against the Panthers in the Stanley Cup final, yes, falling short in a Game 7, but did get it from 3-0, tied at 3-3, so we'll have to see.
There's a lot of pride in that locker room, and they definitely do not want to get swept, so I think that we're going to see them playing hard. Even if they don't think they can win the series, they're not just going to go down 4-0 for sure.
And I don't know if you can call this a big question, at least maybe something on my mind. Off ice, maybe lighten things up a little bit. He's a little bit new to the party in the Flyers organization. For the longest time, they didn't have a mascot. Joined, I believe, in 2019. This guy is electric. Is Gritty his name, the mascot for the Flyers? Is he the best mascot in the NHL, or is this even a debate? To me, this guy is... I don't even know what the heck he's doing out there
he's
sometimes.
certainly the most entertaining with his belly jiggling around and his googly eyes. I mean, he looks like a crackhead out there, Jeff. I mean, I don't know what else to say. He's absolutely bizarre. I mean, if I was 6 years old, I'd probably run the other direction from him. But, I mean,
I've heard he's 7 feet tall.
Oh, he's hilarious, man. I mean, I don't know if you saw, but he had like a mannequin of Crosby over his head, like faking like he was going to chuck him. I mean, they had a lot of fun with Sidney Crosby. I mean, they were booing him. I mean, they had all those crybaby signs. I mean... It's been pretty funny. They're definitely finally having their moment right now, and I'm happy for Flyers fans to finally get the opportunity to stick it to the Penguins, man.
We'll see if they can finish it off in the coming days. We'll now shift out to the Western Conference Final and take a look back at one of the more wild games, pun intended, that we have seen so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs. It took 2 overtimes, but the Dallas Stars on the road get a win, a big one, over the Wild to take a lead in that series, now a 2-1 series lead over Minnesota. After that dud in Game 1, give Dallas credit. Their biggest, again another pun, Stars have been shining bright.
For sure, and man... You know, they go up 2-0 early in that game, and you're thinking they're going to roll, and then all of a sudden Minnesota buries 3 straight, and they go up and take the lead, and you're thinking, oh man, is Dallas going to blow this one? And they found a way, they rallied hard, and they got that to overtime, and Wyatt Johnston does what he does best. I mean, he's 22 years old, and he has 6 game-winning goals in the playoffs already. Talk about a guy that is just made for the moment. And, you know, they don't have to be pretty. It wasn't like he sniped when like Jason Robertson had the first goal of the game. I mean, he finds ways. He gets in front of the net. He's right place, right time kind of guy, tips that puck down, and there you go, game winner in double overtime. And, yeah, I mean, he's a remarkable young player, and he's definitely going to be a guy like I was just talking about. I mean, he's going to have a heck of a career, and, man, what a playoff performer he is already.
And again, to give credit to the Stars, as Hayden alluded to, the 3 straight goals from the Wild in that game, when Team USA member Matt Boldy, if you caught their game-tying goal, I mean, this was outstanding. Boldy skates into the zone. He's got 3 guys in a straitjacket around him, and somehow he dumps this pass out in front, finds a man wide open for a goal. The barn is electric. I alluded to how awesome that crowd is in St. Paul. Haven't seen them myself in person. They tie the game there, come back from a 2-0 deficit. At that point in the second period, I'm thinking Minnesota's got this thing. Yeah. They've got the momentum rolling. They got the home barn. Everything's starting to stack up in their favor. But Dallas puts their foot in the dirt and gets the win. And I think this will be the key for them. Special teams. Where'd you see it last night? 3 power play goals. If they can continue to have success like that with special teams, a spot where Minnesota has had so much success this season, I think they win this series. But a huge game coming up. If Dallas can get the win on the road, they take control. If Minnesota wins, we're going to Game 7 eventually, I think.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's going to tie this one up at home. I think there's going to be a lot. I mean, for the state of hockey, that team has not had a lot of playoff success, and I think that they're hungry for it. And guys like Matt Boldy, you know, that play reminded me of that Matt Boldy had. It looked like when he tipped the puck up between Devon Toews and Cale Makar in the Olympic gold medal game when he got through them. I mean, he's just such a crafty young guy. He can make a play when they need it, and I expect to see Matt Boldy continue to make some big plays down the stretch here.
Stars leading that series 2-1. The Wild will look to tie things back up on home ice after a tough double overtime loss. Speaking of teams winning on the road, that's what we saw in the nightcap last night, thinking the Ducks getting by the Edmonton Oilers. Again, special teams popping up. Kind of a game where Edmonton definitely does not play their best. They give up 3 special teams goals, 2 Duck goals on the power play, and then kind of a head scratcher, a shorthanded goal, and it is the Ducks getting a win 6-4. But seemingly, you see the comments after the game, the Oilers definitely acknowledge that they did not play their best, but they just didn't seem worried in the slightest, thinking, we're just going to go on the road and be just fine.
Oh, I mean, they've had 3 cup runs in a row where things may not have looked good and they find a way to win games. You got Connor McDavid, you got a healthy Leon Draisaitl. I think Stuart Skinner probably needs to make another save or two. I think he let in a couple softies. You know, you have a McDavid-led team. He hasn't even scored a point yet. If there's one guy that I'm not worried about getting going at some point, it's Connor McDavid. He averages, 1.5 points per game in the playoffs. He will get going. So I think that's a good side for Edmonton, that the depth players are really stepping up and making plays. But just like the regular season, man, you can't give up 6 goals and win hockey games. And the Edmonton Oilers are going to have to double down and play a little bit better defense. I know Evan Bouchard was on the ice for 5 of the 6 goals. Can't win like that consistently.
Well, I guess we'll get to the big question, since you alluded to a lot of those things with Connor McDavid and his lack of success, having 0 points through the first couple of games of the playoffs. But it's not like the Oilers haven't found ways to put pucks into the back of the net. They've scored 8 goals in the first 2 games of this series. Is it a bit of a blessing in disguise that this team has found other contributors other than maybe the best player on earth?
Oh, for sure. I mean, you look at all of the cup runs of the past teams, and, the third and fourth lines are just huge contributors to that. And that's one thing I will say for Colorado is I think they have the best third line in hockey, and it's a mismatch to a lot of teams, and I think that's where they're going to thrive. You would think that it's, that top line with Lehkonen, McKinnon, and Natchez that's going to be the reason why they win hockey games, but they haven't really done that much either. I mean, obviously they've only scored 4 goals, but it's been the depth players for Colorado stepping up, and it turns into tight checking, not a lot of space hockey, and you need to have kind of the random heroes to win hockey games. I mean, Nicholas Waugh scores the OT winner. I mean, he's not really a known goal scorer for Colorado, but guys just got to step up. You got to find new heroes every single night to win hockey games like that in the playoffs. And yeah, I think it is a blessing in disguise. I mean, when McDavid's not playing well, other players have to step up and make plays, and eventually when he does step up and make plays, those guys feel good about what they're doing, and then you can put that all together and see if you can really go for a run.
You can't feel all doom and gloom if you're an Anaheim fan either. Going on the road, you take one of 2. That's where you want to be. Coming at home, you want to have a chance to protect home ice. And we've seen where teams that haven't seen many games in the playoffs in years past have this little jolt in their first game at home. Go back to what the Buffalo Sabres did against Boston in that second and third period push, or what Philly did last night. Do you think Anaheim has a chance to have something like that happen when they play again on Friday?
I mean, for sure. I mean, they have a lot of resilience. I mean, they were winning that game 3-1, and then they were winning 4-2, and then Edmonton rallied all the way back. And a lot of times, like you said, teams that don't have a lot of play experience playing, the Edmonton Oilers, who are one of the best teams in the league, like you can fold quickly, right? I mean, a lot of young guys will get nervous when Connor McDavid's on the ice skating at you full speed when it's tied 4-4 in a game that you were just winning 2 goals, just a few minutes prior. But Cutter Gauthier, man, I talked about him last week. I mean, 40 goal scorer, just an exceptional young talent. Leo Carlson's been great. It just seems like these guys are taking the moment in stride, and obviously kind of a greasy goal to go up 5-4 at the end after Edmonton tied it. But that's what you got to do, man. You got to put pucks on net. You got to send them into the mixer, and you got to hope guys make plays, and Cutter Gauthier is making plays right now. He had 2 goals in that game.
Well, that's what we saw last night on Wednesday. What do we got on tap for a Thursday? Talking some Stanley Cup hockey here on ESPN Missoula with Hayden Smith and Jeff Safford. First game of the night, a big one. One of the big game 3s that I alluded to earlier. Buffalo up on the Charles River, wicked far away there at TD Garden in Boston, facing off with the Boston Bruins. Carolina heads out north of the border to Ottawa, looking to take a 3-0 series lead in that series. And then the nightcap. Hayden, do you know what team's playing at 8 o'clock on tonight?
They have some guy named Nathan McKinnon on that roster. I think he's pretty good.
Yeah,
he's pretty good.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if you were in line with what the Colorado Avalanche are doing. I will say he did change his Avalanche hat to an ESPN Missoula hat for this segment, but the Avs will also be looking for a 3-0 series lead with the LA Kings. We'll take a few little peeks at what we got for a Thursday night. With the series tied at 1, Buffalo and Boston, a big game. Stats say it. The winner of a Game 3 in the Stanley Cup playoffs, in a scenario like this with the 2 teams tied at 1, goes on to win the series 66% of the time. So, Hayden, this Game 3, Boston and Buffalo, this is a big one.
Oh, this is going to be an absolute gong show of a game. This is a game that I think Buffalo has to come out and make a statement and go get a win. They have started very slow the last 2 games. games. The first game they got lucky and rallied. Tage Thompson, what an absolute stud to get that one tied up and give his team a chance to win that game. But they can't continue to do this. They gave up 2 and they gave up 4 in the second game. I think they have to score the first goal in this game just to get things going a little bit more for the guys. You can't dig yourself out of holes every game. And I think it's time for the Sabres to make a statement. I think Rasmus Dahlin's gonna just be an absolute monster out there tonight. And I think that the Sabres are gonna find a way to get this one done.
And it's been a few of Boston's veterans leading the way offensively. Morgan Geekie has been outstanding going back to the end of the regular season. He has 7 goals in his last 6 games, regular season and postseason. David Pastrnak also has 92 career points in Stanley Cup hockey. That's tied with a guy named Bobby Orr. I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, Pastrnak is he's just a natural goal scorer. I mean, he's been fantastic for many years. Obviously had some disappointing cup runs on his part with Marchand and co. But, I mean, the guy's hungry. He has no fear of the Buffalo Sabres, I can assure you of that. And he's just going to keep going and doing his thing. And is that going to be enough? I don't know. I don't think the Bruins have nearly the depth that the Sabres have. I think they both are, a big physical team. I think the Sabres maybe a little bit more so. But, I thought that about the Penguins against the Flyers too, man. And I was certainly proven wrong. And the Sabres obviously don't have a lot of experience. Like I said with last week, the Bruins necessarily don't either, besides, a few guys like you mentioned and David Pastrnak. Yeah, I mean, he'll do everything he can. I just don't think it's enough to topple the Sabres right now.
Well, that leads us to the big question as we look at Game 3. Again, at 5 o'clock local time puck drop between the Bruins and the Sabres. Did Boston flip the series potentially in their favor in Game 2, or was Game 2 a blip on the map?
I think that if that score had finished 4-0, I would feel better about that. But the way that Buffalo kind of rallied, when you're down 4-0 in a game and you're going to lose, you still want to go get those goals, right? Because then you get your team going for the next game. You got to always be thinking about Game 3 in that situation. And I think scoring those 2 hopefully gives them a little confidence. Like I said, they got to get going early in this one. They cannot continue to do this where they, the first period and a half, 2 periods, they just, get dominated and then try to find a way to win in the third. They got to get going as soon as possible.
Keeping it out east, another Game 3, the Carolina Hurricanes looking for a 3-0 series lead on the road after winning the first 2 games at home, and that has just been chalk with what the Hurricanes have done in years past. I thought this stat was wild. This is the first team in Stanley Cup playoff history to go out to a 2-0 series lead in their first 7-game series of a postseason ever. This is just what they always do to get things rolling.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been this step. It's been the steps that have followed that has tripped up this Carolina Hurricanes team. Let's just get to the big question with them right out of bed. Is this finally the year where the Hurricanes can potentially get to the top of the mountain thinking about a Stanley Cup playoff run or a Stanley Cup final run?
It's possible. I mean, they have everything, in my opinion, except just that true bona fide superstar. And they have a lot of really good guys in Svechnikov and Sebastian Aho. Jacob Slavin's, one of the better true defensive defensemen in this league. I think that the real answer is going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals because historically the Hurricanes can never win games when they get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I think this matchup against the Senators works well for them. I think they're 2 very similar teams the way that they play. They're going to bang and mash. They're going to dump pucks. They're tight-checking teams. I just think the Hurricanes are better at it than the Senators are. And as much as Brady Tkachuk and, a lot of these guys can, try to be a nuisance, and nuisance is a nice word for what he does out there.
Let's we've been talking goons
if he wants to be
Brady
a goon,
Tkachuk's my favorite.
That's great, but eventually you got to put pucks in the net to win hockey games, and I just don't think the Senators necessarily have the guys to do that. The Hurricanes, while not having that true superstar presence, they don't have the Kucherov, the McDavid, the McKinnon. I think they have a ton of depth, and depth does win playoff series. But eventually you're going to have a big dog step up, and that's been the issue for the Hurricanes is they don't have that big dog to go out there and make a play when they need it. Do they have it this year? It's to be seen. I think they're going to win this game tonight against the Senators, go up 3-0. And I think they're going to get through this next round, and it's to be seen, Jeff. I don't have an answer yet. I haven't seen anything that's been particularly impressive out of the Hurricanes. I think they're doing what they are expected to be doing against the Senators.
I have to agree with Hayden on this one. Carolina has been nails in spots like this when they've had the lead 2-0. Ottawa, when trailing 0-2 in a postseason series, they are 0-10. I think they go up 3-0 in this game, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised if the Hurricanes sweep Ottawa. But I hope Brady Tkachuk gets in a couple of blows, maybe a couple of punches just for some fun.
If they go down 3-0 in that series, I can assure you that fourth game will be throwing.
The final game of the night, the Avs and the Kings from out there in the City of Angels, downtown Los Angeles. Another team trying to take a 3-0 series lead after a win in overtime. Gabe Landeskog, the hero, getting the game-tying goal in the third period with about 2.5 minutes to go, and then a winner in overtime. A thing talked about with this Denver team coming into the series was its goaltending being a red flag. Well, I think Scott Wedgwood has put that to bed in the first 2 games of the series. You mentioned how Anton Forsberg had been good for LA, and that's true. He has a 94% save percentage in this series. Wedgwood, though, he's got a 96% save percentage. Goalie issue, see you later.
Well, it doesn't even make sense to say they have a goalie issue. First of all, they won the William M. Jennings Award, which is the best goaltending in the entire league. So they won the award for that. They allowed the least goals against in the entire league, and then they have the best penalty kill in the league. So whatever, PK Subban, you can say that there's a goaltending issue for the Avalanche, but nothing backs that at all. And Scott Wedgwood, who, by the way, is kind of our backup goalie, Mackenzie Blackwood was brought in to be the guy. We're just riding the hot hand right now, and he's been fantastic. I expect him to be fantastic. He plays with the best D pairing in the entire league with Cale Makar and Devon Toews. So even if you have goaltending issues, you can still kind of bail your goalie out by having great defensive play in front of him. And the Avalanche have done that. I mean, they've given up 2 goals in 2 games. And the first goal was an empty net with like 2 minutes left. The Kings are playing great right now. I mean, they're being a nuisance. They're doing everything they need to do. They're hitting guys hard. I mean, obviously you saw Marty Nate just get drilled. You also saw Brent Burns absolutely obliterate Kopitar. And I think that actually kind of settled things down a little bit. Like, hey, if you're going to hit our guys, we're going to hit your 41-year-old captain that's a Hall of Famer, and let's just calm this down a little bit here. But I think the Kings win this one, Jeff. I really do. I think the way that
I wouldn't be shocked either.
I think the way they've been playing right now, they've been playing hard. I think they've had really good chances to win these last 2. I think they're going to go home with Kopitar, potentially being their last run, and a guy that's been there for his entire career. And I think they're going to grit one out, and they're going to find a way to win this one. And I hate to say it, but I think that's the truth of the matter.
I would anticipate maybe it comes tonight, maybe in Game 4. But I anticipate Colorado going back home up 3-1. Maybe it's LA winning tonight. Maybe it's the Kings staving off an elimination in a potential scenario. But I think that the Avs have to feel good about where they're at in this series. And it's only a matter of time until they are able to advance. And that leads us to the big question. We talked about how they're the Cup favorites, right? Is there anything that you have on your mind that is a concern whatsoever with this team, or a red flag, even in the slightest?
Most certainly, and I think people have been talking about it, and it's certainly not the goaltending, it's the power play. And when you have as many superstars as they have, there is absolutely zero excuse for this power play to be so poor. But it is, and it has been for the entire season. It's the worst power play that they've had since the 16-17 season, which, by the way, they were terrible that year. However, they are the best 5-on-5 team in the league, and hopefully the refs swallow their whistles a little bit more in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, it's the power play. There's no question about it. Anyone that's watched the Colorado Avalanche and knows anything about them knows that that's the main point of concern. And yeah, I mean, if they can find a way to just be average on their power play, I think that they win the Cup. Yeah, it's time to get going. That power play's got to get going. There's absolutely no excuses when you have the guys out there.
Well, maybe it gets started tonight for the Colorado Avalanche, trying to take a 3-0 series lead, as are the Carolina Hurricanes over the Ottawa Senators. Buffalo and Boston, an advantage on the line in that series, tied at 1, headed to the Charles River and the TD Garden. Hayden Smith and Jeff Safford talking NHL hockey. We're up against it here on ESPN Missoula. Come back with more on this edition of Nuanez Now right after this.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Access to Montana's great backyard is the best part of being a Grizzly. At the University of Montana, our classrooms are the mountain peaks, river valleys, and never-ending plains of the Big Sky Country. We provide students with the hands-on training to protect and enjoy hunting, conservation, and stewardship. UM launches the careers of outdoor leaders so that they can protect our traditions and ensure they are passed down for future generations. Because what's made in Montana is remaking the world.
Why would any business let you use their product and give you 365 days of reassurance? Mattress Firm does because they believe in their mattresses. Save on top brands like Nectar, Tempur-Pedic, Beautyrest, Serta, Stearns & Foster, and others. Mattress Firm carries $149 mattresses all the way up to the luxury Purple Rejuvenate Premier. 0% in payments as low as $39 a month, along with 365 days of reassurance. See why Mattress Firm is Montana's best place to find the sleep you deserve.
Mattress Firm, where it's easy to get a great night's sleep.
This is Nuanez Now on 102.9 ESPN Radio Missoula.
We'll check it in with Montana track and field once again, and the outdoor season in full swing. Montana hosts this weekend one of the big outdoor meets of the season for the Grizzlies. Head coach Doug Fraley joining us here on Nuanez Now. Coach, appreciate you being here. How you doing?
Yeah, Coulter, great to be on, and thanks for having us.
First of all, you have to tell me about Carson Bites. I know we've talked about him twice already this year, but those numbers were triple take numbers. But when we got him, we were actually on a golf trip, and I ran over my brother, who was a great sprinter himself. I said, look at what this kid just did. I mean, 10-1-7 in the 100 meters, under 25 in the 200 meters. That's pretty darn impressive. I know you mentioned it after the meet, but what has helped him sort of get over the top here? Because, I mean, he's been really good, but that's a giant breakthrough. I mean, breaking 2 school records in 2 hallowed events is pretty dang good.
Yeah, Carson he's been on a consistent improvement in the 3 years he's been with us. And the way he started running the 60 indoors and as fast as he ran the 200 meters on an old wood track in Pocatello to win the conference indoor championships, we knew that there was a chance that he was going to do some really special stuff outdoors, just those indicators, because Carson's a second half of the race sprinter. He's strong as the race goes. And when he ran the short race, the 60 meters indoors, and he went 6:69 at the league meet to get third place, I told him, now you're getting that kind of starting speed. And with the finish that you have in races, you're going to be pretty tough outdoors. And, everything lined up really well for us out in California. The reason we go out there for that meet every year is because it's going to be 75, 80 degrees. Typically the winds are friendly out there, and the competition is always tremendous out there. And so everything lined up for us last week out there. He was rested, feeling great, and he just really went off. So it was awesome to see that progress for him.
We see that a lot throughout the years, where there are athletes that are good at both the 100 and the 200, but sometimes better at the 200 because, like you're talking about, the strength. Like, where does that come from? Is that an innate ability, or is that something that athletes build up? Why do you think Carson's so good the farther the race gets?
He's mechanically is really sound in his sprinting. A lot of people, when fatigue sets in after, 60 meters or in a 200 after 120 meters, their mechanics start to fail. That was the thing that has always impressed me about Carson, even when he was in high school, was that he had really sound mechanics that just hold up through the course of, a 20-second sprint or whatever the case is. He's even done well for me when I put him on a 4x400 leg. So he has really good range, excellent mechanics, and he's just got that it factor when it comes to the second half of races. He knows where that finish line is at, and he is charging. And so it's a combination of, his innate abilities, his mechanics, and his determination to be really good in the second half of those races.
Got to be some pure strength that goes into that, you'd think, too.
Oh, absolutely. We spend a lot of time, our sprinters spend a lot of time in the weight room working on getting as strong as they can get for their body weight, because ultimately you're putting pressure into the ground and you need to receive energy back from it to move down the track at a high rate of speed. And he's one of the guys he's one of our strongest athletes on the sprint squad in the weight room, doing the correct lifts and stuff. And all those things are factors in high level sprinting.
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot, because two of the greatest football players I've ever covered in the state of Montana, Torrey Anderson, who now plays for the Atlanta Falcons, and Reed Harris, who was at Boston College, now he plays at Arizona State, but he's probably going to go to the NFL too. Those guys were good 100-meter runners, high 10 seconds, but they were unbelievable 200-meter runners, and it's because they were both 215, 220 pounds, legs like this.
Yeah,
the strength is what could carry them around the corner. So I find that part that fascinating.
Absolutely.
Well, and the fact that 200-meter record dates back 58 years, but that was actually a tie of a record that dates all the way back to the early 1930s. So you're talking about almost 90 years worth of Grizz track that Carson Bites was able to do. So has that settled in? I mean, I'm sure he's still focused on the season at hand, but for you, I mean, what a cool deal to have a record that's been standing for decades and decades fall in the outdoor.
Yeah, that's really amazing, and I wasn't aware of that there were two record holders until after Jackson Wagner, our SID, told me that. And I thought that's really amazing because, at those days and times, that was a really amazingly fast record for UM. And, Carson went in there and, he understands how special that is to take down records that are really legacy records, and has a great appreciation for that. No, we're really proud of that fact.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, how fast was that guy in the 1930s running in the 20 seconds and the 200 meters? I mean, you're talking like knocking on the door of the Olympics back then.
Yeah, exactly, on dirt tracks with inch-long spikes.
Crazy, man. Doug Fraley joined us here on Nuanez Now 102.9 ESPN Radio. I also have to ask you about your javelin throwers. They had an awesome weekend down in California as well. Hunter Loesch is a kid I watched in high school. I knew he was going to be special. I knew that was going to be a huge recruit for you guys. Corvallis has had such good track and field over the years, and I mean, he was throwing competitive Big Sky marks when he was a junior in high school. So, but he's really taken it to the next level. So first of all, tell me about the 70-meter club, though, because I know that's something those guys really are into and really chase. And you've had a couple guys reach that mark already so far this year. So, how much do you sort of put that out there as sort of an initial goal for these guys once outdoor rolls around?
Yeah, those javelin throwers, they train all year. We start training in September. Those poor guys don't get to even compete until, late March when the outdoor season starts. And so they have a really long training season. And the thing about our crew is we have a really good group of javelin throwers. These guys, they're training for 8 months without competing. But man, it's a really competitive group that we have. And we feel like that is a real strength for our team. And so those guys really, they get after the training all the way from September to when they start competing in outdoors at the end of March. But, we brought Hunter in, and it was obvious to us when he was in high school that he is a big time talent, not just a Big Sky level D1 level kid, but potentially regional national championship caliber type athlete. And, he has done nothing to prove us wrong in our assessment of that since he's been here. That guy is built to throw the javelin, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do in the future.
That dynamic is also really interesting. The fact that there's such great javelin throwers that come out of Montana. Like, we see that every spring. The top boy and girl in Montana is usually, a top 20, if not top 10 in the country type of javelin thrower. So how important is that for you guys to have sort of that baseline preparation that some of these young people are coming to your program with?
Oh yeah, we want javelin throwers in this state to know that this is the place to come if you want to be a collegiate javelin thrower and you want to stay in the state of Montana. It really is. It's a tremendous history in this state. It didn't take me long to figure that out. It's actually funny because the way I got to know about Montana javelin initially was a kid that my father recruited to Fresno State in California from Montana, who ended up making the Olympics in the javelin, was an NCAA champion, a gentleman named Todd Reish, up in the Whitefish area. And, he was an amazing javelin thrower for my college, my alma mater at Fresno State. And I knew about that way back in the 90s when he was out west with us. But, when it didn't take me long once I got here to realize that every year there's going to be a couple of national caliber javelin throwers in the state of Montana. And, that's a strength for our program. And we love the fact that, one, we're in a state that actually throws the javelin. Not that many high schools throw the javelin in many states. And so Montana's one of those. And with the tradition it has, high school coaches getting good athletes into the javelin versus a state that doesn't have it. That's tremendous opportunity for some of these kids with a big arm. And, Hunter was a football player and just a great all-around athlete down there at Hamilton. And when a guy like that is able to come in and focus, get great coaching, have great teammates, man, the sky's the limit for a guy like that.
How do you help those guys keep building then? Because they've had such breakthrough marks already, but you still have several meets here to go before conference. So, 230 and change is already going to probably qualify for the West Regionals for Hunter Loesch. How do you keep building off of that and then maybe help him? I mean, don't put too much pressure on the kid, but he's not that far off from the Big Sky record, right? I mean, that's probably his ceiling.
Yeah, our coach, our throws coach, John Kolb, he is very smart with how he's training those guys. He's not peaking them early. I mean, these guys are doing this level of throwing and really he's keeping them in the training, only throwing them about every other week right now to save the arm and doing everything we can. Because for these guys, for Kyle and Hunter, who have qualified for the regionals already, those guys are eyeing potentially making national championships. And so what you've got to do is you've got to manage, it's like a pitcher managing a pitch count throughout a season. Javelin is very similar. You're going to throw them at certain times and you're going to train them at certain times and then try to hit it, between the Big Sky championships and the regional championships, try to hit that peak level. And so we've got a good plan for them and hopefully things will work out when we get back to Fayetteville, Arkansas, and they'll hit a couple of bombs and have a chance to go to Eugene for the national championships.
Montana Open coming up at Dornblazer Field this upcoming weekend. It is your last chance to see the Grizz on their home track. They have a couple more regular season meets then leading up to the Big Sky Outdoor Championships coming up in mid-May. Doug Fraley, head coach of the Grizz track team, joining us here on 102.9 ESPN Radio. Got to ask you about the women's side for a moment. First of all, you got to tell me about the mile relay because I thought that time was very, very impressive, and I know that those gals were right in the mix there and were the top time in that meet. So what went into the nice relay, and how's that relay team come together for you?
We've got good depth on the women's side in both the short relay and the long relay. And the funny thing about our great performance out in Long Beach last week is we were running without our best 400-meter runner. McKenna Els, I sat her out. She had a little bit of an issue with a hamstring that is now resolving, and she'll be ready to go again. But that was actually with an alternate on that team. And so I am super excited the fact that those ladies went out there and ran 3:38, won the meet, beat a phenomenal BYU team. To do that without our number one 400-meter runner is awesome. When we're able to plug McKenna back in, that relay is going to go really, really fast.
Well, Lily Mesker, a gal we actually got to know because the press box is one of our main clients, and she was working at the press box for a little while, and fun to get to know Lily. But proud of her because she's been a good runner that's now become a great runner, and she broke 54 seconds in the 400 meters, third fastest time in Montana history. So what sort of things did you see in her that maybe got her to the point where she could go low like that and sort of get over the top?
Lily is our team captain. She has been the heart and soul of our women's sprint groups when I started out here 4 years ago. She was the best recruit we had coming in as a freshman. And that young lady has just accomplished tremendous things. Lily is very small in stature. I give her a hard time about whether she's actually 5 foot tall or not. But she has the biggest heart of any athlete I have ever coached. And I mean that sincerely when I say that. She has gotten to where she's at by really hard work and just more determination than any athlete that I've ever been around. She is a special young lady and destined for great things in life. And I couldn't be more proud of her for her to run 53.7, third fastest time in school history. Getting close to that regional qualifying standard, leading our relays, and just being the captain that she's been for that group. Just tremendous.
Well,
really
awesome.
proud.
Yeah, really proud of her too. Awesome when good things happen to great people, no doubt. Well, tell us about the Montana Open then. You got a whole bunch of teams coming in, and a great showcase for you guys and a great chance for people to come out and see what you guys got going on, because this is certainly a program on the rise. So what can people expect this weekend, and what do you guys think of this hosting this home meet?
Yeah, we're excited. Last home meet of the year, one of two that we're hosting this year, and it's going to be really good. Most of the Montana schools are going to be here. Eastern Washington is sending a good group over, and so we will begin at 1 p.m. on Friday. Friday will just be the hammer throw and the javelin throws, and then Saturday, starting at 11, will be the entire meet. And so we're excited to host a bunch of schools coming in. It'll be a great opportunity for our entire team to compete this week at home. Some athletes will have doing maybe fewer events if they went out to California last week. The rest of the team will be doing all their regular events, and we're looking to put on a good show for the crowd. And we hope people will come out and watch Grizz Track and Field this weekend.
Well, if you can't make it, you should go down. It'll be a really, really fun event, and certainly we'll be following along and have the results for you next week. Doug Fraley joining us here on ESPN Radio. Coach, we appreciate the time, and good luck this weekend.
All right, Coulter. Great being on your show, and appreciate the support, man. Go Grizz.
What do you expect me to say to her? She's getting married in 30 minutes.
We're doing everything we can.
John, can you hear me? John.
At Shields, we're anglers, endlessly seeking and refining techniques. We're hunters and storytellers, because we've been out there. We're experts that put products and gear to the test, so we can share that knowledge with you. At Shields, we understand your outdoor journey and the path you're on, because we walk it too, every step of the way. Shields, right there with you.
Mountain Town Vacation Rental Management, your local partner for vacation rental success. We provide a fully customized hosting experience tailored to your needs and goals. Your home is listed on every major site, helping you maximize visibility and bookings. And our local team is available 24/7 to handle guest needs and booking inquiries. Let us take the stress out of managing your vacation home. Contact us today at mountaintownvrm.com or give us a call at 406-369-3080.
The rare moments in life, they're not just few and far between. They're meant to be treasured.
Bring the whole family to the Stone of Accord for a wonderful brunch. From traditional comfort food to eclectic specials, there's something for everyone to enjoy. And it wouldn't be a proper Missoula brunch without an Irish coffee and a mimosa. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino. At the Stone of Accord, we use the freshest ingredients to create our homemade traditional Irish classics, fresh salads, and creative specials. Come enjoy our warm, family-friendly atmosphere. The Stone of Accord, Irish fare with Montana flair. Restaurant, liquor store, and casino.
Nuanez Now on ESPN Radio.
Been a great edition of Nuanez Now here at the Missoula Broadcasting Company, ESPN Radio. Myself, Jeff Safford, wrapping things up. We heard a lot from Ryan Tutel and Colter Nuanez in hour number one. Some great Stanley Cup playoff talk. We got more of that coming throughout the course of this postseason, along with some Grizz track and field as well. Another edition of Nuanez Now coming up tomorrow. We'll see you then on